let's talk about a huge problem. Mental health issues are the #1 cause of disability in the entire world, yet less than half the people who need help actually get it. That's a massive gap. But at the same time, we're living through this AI revolution that promises to solve all our biggest problems. So that leads to a pretty big question. Can we literally code our way out of a mental health crisis? Let's get into it.
So take a look at this number, 0.1. What do you think that represents? It's not a percentage, it's not a rating. This number right here, it defines the sheer scale of the crisis we're up against.
Okay, so let's unpack what that number really means for millions and millions of people. Honestly, it's the key to understanding why we're even talking about AI therapists in the first place.
Yeah, you heard that right. For every million people in huge parts of the world, there is just a tenth of a single psychiatrist available. Now compare that to high-income countries, where you might have as many as 90 psychiatrists for that same number of people. It is a staggering, unbelievable gap between who needs help and who can actually get it.
So, with a shortage of human therapists that massive, you can see why developers are turning to artificial intelligence to try and fill that void. And AI chatbots, they're really emerging as a kind of potential digital lifeline.
And you can see why the promise is so compelling, right? I mean, these AI chatbots are there for you anytime, anywhere, 24/7. They give you a layer of anonymity that helps people get around the stigma that, let's be honest, stops so many of us from seeking help. And maybe most importantly, they're often cheap or totally free. For a lot of users, this creates a judgment-free zone where they can talk about things they might never, ever say to another human being.
But what's it actually like to pour your heart out to an algorithm? Does it really feel like therapy, or is it just, talking to a machine? Well, the experiences people are having are surprisingly complex, and they are deeply, deeply divided.
I mean, just listen to this. One user said their experience with an AI chatbot was literally life-changing. Researchers even have a name for this feeling. They call it an emotional sanctuary, a space where people feel so deeply understood and validated that they feel safe enough to process their toughest emotions.
But then you have the other side of the coin. This quote right here. It just captures the shock and the pain that some people feel when they run into the AI's safety guardrails. These are basically pre-programmed responses that pop up if a user seems like they're in a crisis. The AI will say something like, "I'm just an AI," and give you a hotline number. It's well-intentioned, of course, but in a moment of pure vulnerability, it can feel like a sudden, brutal rejection.
So you end up with this really deep split. On the one hand, people are reporting this incredible sense of connection and getting advice that feels genuinely insightful. But on the other hand, the AI can feel generic and repetitive, it completely forgets what you told it yesterday, and those safety features can just shatter that fragile trust at the worst possible moment.
But here's the thing. The risks go so much deeper than just a weird or awkward conversation. We have to talk about the hidden dangers that are lurking inside the code. Things like bias, bugs, and some major blind spots.
At the very heart of this problem is something called algorithmic bias. The simplest way to put it is this. If the data we use to train an AI is biased, then the AI is going to be biased too. It's like it learns from our own worst history and our prejudices, and then it can end up amplifying them on a massive scale.
So check out this famous example from outside mental health. Amazon built an AI to screen job applicants, but because it was trained on a decade of resumes that were mostly from men, it literally taught itself that men were better candidates. It even started penalizing resumes that had phrases like women's chess club. It was so bad, the company had to scrap the whole thing.
So why does that happen?
Well, a lot of the time, it's because the data itself is just fundamentally broken. One study of facial recognition systems found that their training data was overwhelmingly white and male, and the result? The systems were almost perfect at identifying white men, but had an error rate of over 34% for darker-skinned women. Flawed data just leads to flawed, biased results.
And on top of the bias, there's the question, do they even work? A huge analysis of clinical trials found the evidence is shaky at best. They found a small improvement for people with depression, some success with really specific phobias, but for anxiety, the results were all over the place. Overall, the quality of the evidence was just rated as low.
And when these systems get it wrong, the consequences can be incredibly severe. A chatbot called Tessa, which was designed to help people with eating disorders, had to be completely shut down after it started giving out harmful advice that went directly against clinical guidelines. It's a really stark reminder of the real-world harm these things can cause.
All of this, as you can imagine, raises a massive question. With technology moving this fast and the stakes being this high, how in the world do we regulate the digital mind and actually make these tools safe for people to use?
The whole problem starts with a really basic question that has regulators totally stumped. What actually is psychological harm? The EU's big landmark AI Act uses that exact term, but it never actually defines it.
And that's because no one can agree on a single definition. Does it mean severe diagnosable trauma? Or does it also include feelings like fear or sadness or even the addictive pull of an app? If you can't even define it, it becomes almost impossible to hold a company legally responsible for the mental health impact of its AI.
So, some experts are suggesting we just flip the whole script. Instead of trying to define and punish harm after it's already happened, what if we started regulating for good mental health right from the beginning? Using the World Health Organization's definition, this would mean focusing on making sure technology supports our ability to cope, to work, and to connect, instead of undermining it.
And that's pretty much where we are now. AI offers this powerful, scalable solution to a global crisis. We can't deny that. But it also carries these profound risks of bias, error, and real harm. So the ultimate question we all have to answer is whether we can actually get all that power while also guaranteeing safety, or if in the end we're going to be forced to choose one over the other.